Hi, everyone. It is January 16, still 2020. I don't have any update on Mike Morales, stating that for those who don't have access to Facebook, there has been no update so far. But when I see an update, I will certainly post a video. And still just feeling sick about this. I really hope that Shelley is okay. I want to read some of this article. Conspiracists say lasers and exploding smart meters used to start bushfires to make way for a new train network, which was posted today on news.com, Australia. Then I want to read some excerpts of this article, tens of thousands of Aussies engaging in Agenda 21 conspiracy on social media. And then just go through some, all of the scientists, tens of thousands of scientists who dispute this climate change theory coming out of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that mainstream media continues to ring that global warming bell, that anyone who disputes that theory is just a crazy conspiracy theorist when we have so much evidence that this climate change, global warming hysteria is propaganda being used against the world's people, to reshape the world for the elite's pleasure. And sometimes I say things and I hear myself. And had I not done any research myself to understand what's happening in this world, I might think I'm crazy. But when you do the research, you learn a lot. And you're no longer allowing mainstream media to think for you. You have your own brain. So, it's interesting because the California fires, and I do believe it was after Paradise, or it might have been a fire before that, the Paradise, California fire. Mainstream media in the United States came out with very similar articles. Yes, we're all just crazy. What's interesting is that people who read these articles, they know that mainstream media is lying to them, but at the same time, they believe them. Very interesting time we're living. Thousands of Australians appear to believe lasers and exploding smart meters are being used to start our bushfires to make way for a new train network. The conspiracy theory has spread far and wide on social media, with directed energy weapons posts being shared tens of thousands of times in the past few weeks. Many of the posts claim the fires have been deliberately started by a shadowy global elite in order to clear land for a high-speed rail network from Brisbane to Melbourne. Well, it is, I guess, just a coincidence that the fires do seem to kind of correspond to the high-speed rail map. Networks of local and international conspiracy theorists, many of whom claim the fires are part of United Nations-led global plot to depopulate the world and seize control for a one-world government under the guises of climate change. A wider conspiracy, theorists believe the alleged high-speed rail network will force all of us into big cities where we can be controlled by the government. It sounds crazy, right? So imagine yourself having done no research whatsoever, and you hear about this kind of stuff. You don't know anything about Agenda 21. You haven't done the research to find out what really is taking place, who's behind this Agenda 21 2030 plan. If you've done no research and you read something like this, you would think that these people are just crazy. But that would evidence your brain not working properly. Because when you have tens of thousands of people engaged in these conspiracy theories in Australia, well then, it's millions around the world. You have to think, are they all crazy? How did they come up with this conspiracy theory? Well, they say they have evidence. They say they have done the research. Now, a healthy individual would say, you know, I need to look into this. I have to do some research myself. When we don't have a lot of healthy individuals, then they continue to just go on believing all of these lies told by mainstream media. So they posted the laser shot, and they do claim that it wasn't, it's not verified, and we don't know who actually caught this picture. So we don't really know. We can't say definitively that this was a laser. And that is true. I know a lot of people want to absolutely 100% believe that this was a laser shot in Australia. But we don't know that. Yeah, a lot of pictures can be photoshopped. This picture I've never seen, but it does seem to have another laser shot. Now, you know, since there was controversy within the YouTube community, I don't use the term truth movement, so I just say our community. Controversy, you know, someone saying that it was an artist's rendition, that it wasn't an actual laser, because you can't see lasers. Well, you can. I think it has to do with the frequency, the color. But many people brought up all of the particulates in the atmosphere that may very well be illuminated by a laser shot. So, but again, we don't know. Okay, so one of the largest Facebook conspiracy pages wrote that residents in bushfire-affected communities say forests around their homes just exploded out of nowhere. I've heard many people say that their homes exploded. They heard explosions. So, I'm surprised that that's even included in this article. Theorists have been sharing maps, the parallels between the rail and the fires. One blog post from a fringe conspiracy theory. Listen to how it's written. Fringe? It's not so fringe anymore, because we are living the era of the internet, and there are people who have done the research. So, but of course, mainstream have to keep us at the fringe. That's why they use that language. Okay, fringe conspiracy theory, cite State of the Nation, linking the bushfires to the global warming hoax. It's made a huge impact on social media. An article titled Operation Torch Australia, a special report on the geoengineered firestorms and triggered arson fires, claimed to draw striking parallels between the fires and previous wildfires in California. That's not a conspiracy. That's actually true. I guess mainstream media is not very happy about the fact that thousands of times this article has been shared on Facebook. So here we go again, spread through a network of local and international pages, many of which were themed around deep state conspiracy theories, chemtrails, or 5G networks. And it's not just Star Wars lasers. They reckon are starting the fires. Smart meters can be activated to explode. They can be. They can be. They operate on pulsed frequencies. The pulses can be modulated. The pulses can be controlled. So, if you have an extremely high pulse, that can create a fire. And smart meters, well, that's an easy search. Just put in smart meter fires or homes burned down by smart meters, and you will see how many homes have been burned down by smart meters. The one thing this article does not go into is the evidence that those quote-unquote conspiracy theorists are coming up with. The quote-unquote anomalies, like homes destroyed, but you have a plastic garbage bin, or you see a very demarcated, defined line where the fire stops, or entire neighborhoods gutted in 24 hours. Paradise, right? 24 hours. Took out, I can't even remember the number of homes. We'll go with 20,000 in 24 hours. And there were dust. It was dust. That should really beg questions. But the fire somehow got into those neighborhoods and missed all of the trees around it. Okay, so I bring these things up because anybody coming across my video, hearing what I'm reading, and they unresearched, unstudied, haven't looked into any of this, they would think everything I'm reading is completely logical. Because you're not getting that this article is not talking about the evidence. Doesn't go into the evidence that these conspiracy theorists are bringing up. It goes into just enough to make those conspiracy theorists appear like nut jobs. So the conspiracy theories linking the fires to directed energy weapons and various alleged government plots has been very active on this page, Higgins Storm Chasers page, which, despite having only 10,000 followers, generates thousands of shares and reactions from its post, which means there's a lot of people who know that something's wrong with these fires. Several of these posts claim to display evidence of energy weapons being used in the fires, such as photos of trees burning on the inside, with one post adding it showed geoengineering, not climate change. While Facebook has moved to crack down on misinformation around some topics such as vaccinations, there appears to be little stopping the spread of conspiracy theories surrounding bushfires. Don't be surprised if that comes about. I mean, look, we're already shadow banned. We're already marginalized. That fringe conspiracy group. And, well, I've had channels terminated. Many people are having their channels terminated. But it's going to get to the point where you will not be able to say these things at all. That's what's happening with truth. You won't be able to say it. And that's what happens in a tyrannical world, a tyranny on steroids. Yeah, it is. We talk and we listen to one another. We talk to one another. But because we have done the research, we don't sound crazy to one another. And people who do not want the truth, a lot of people are claiming, it's not about that, Carol. They're mind controlled. No, I've had as friends a whole lot of people who do not care about the truth. They don't want it. They don't want to hear it. They're happy in the matrix. Leave me alone. So it's not just about, people being mind controlled or all of the poisons that they are subjected to. Well, we are all subjected to those poisons. And this kind of behavior I have seen long before the advent of this technology, the GMOs that took over our food, and all of the other poisons, and the geoengineering, the breathing of toxic chemicals. The behavior of, I will only accept and do what makes me feel comfortable. The self-centeredness. That has been long-standing. So for anybody to claim that it's, mind control, the poisons and everything, you're not really fully analyzing, those fellow citizens in your respective country. Do an analysis of the before and the after, and if you hear noises, cats in the back. All right, so conspiracy theories around the fires have flourished on YouTube, with some people making money while spreading misinformation around the bushfires. One of the most active, Max Egan, who has generated nearly 1 million views for his series of videos decrying the Australian Holocaust. Mr. Egan claimed that an unspecified cabal had been spraying this country with accelerants while also deliberately drying the continent to create the perfect storm. They're going to blame all of this on climate change. They intend to genocide this country. Okay. I find it interesting that Max Egan, now news.com.au, that's mainstream, right? Mainstream, okay. So Max Egan gets notoriety from a mainstream media article about conspiracy theorists. And I'm not entirely sure what Max Egan is doing right now at the same time. But anybody who reads this article, who doesn't know much about anything, wants to check out Max Egan, the Max Egan that they will be seeing in the recent days is a very different Max Egan that was operating years ago. And they tie all of the conspiracy theories to the right-wing people. Right-wing. And I thought, interesting that Max had that swastika on his palm. Right-wing. Oh, you're a Nazi. It just seems unfortunate that when you go to a channel that's highlighted in mainstream media, you'll be listening to somebody who, well, one might click off because they don't really understand what the person is saying. The ripple effect is that then all conspiracy theorists are viewed the same way. A senior lecturer in science communication at the Australian National University believes these theories were being spread by the far right. The theory aligns with ideas that there is a deep state. There is. Well, could people possibly believe that that is just a theory, that there really is no deep state? I guess. Yes, your cell phone is a weapon. All right. Dr. Grant believes, and this Will Grant guy, the senior lecturer in science communication at the Australian National University, who is also quoted in this article, yes, it's gaining traction because of the extreme polarization between the political left, often associated with city living, and right, often associated with rural living. Once again, we see this Hegelian dialectic of two opposing forces fighting one another, rural and city. Okay, the high-speed rail conspiracy comes out of the idea the left and the government want us to live in cities with a smaller carbon footprint and closer to work, and many on the left say this is a good thing. Well, here they're admitting that the left do want us to live in cities so that we have a smaller carbon footprint. That's what they're moving people into. And yes, they can move people about, and it's like the invisible hand the invisible hand of, economics, the invisible hand of, we want you out of the rural area. We will impoverish rural areas. We will impoverish cities that aren't considered of value. We will bring them down economically, and that will leave the people in those areas. Well, the only choice would be to move where the jobs are. So if you have corporations that are deliberately setting up in areas where they want people to be, that's where the corporations go. That's where the jobs are. That's where the people come to get the job. So it's actually pretty easy to move the two-legged herd, if you just really think about it. Okay, so here they're admitting that that's what the left wants. And that left, right, please, don't go there. Step outside all of, these categories, because they're there to actually control you, to keep you stuck in the matrix, believing it's the left, and the left, want the right to be gone. All of that is just nonsense. But it works. And that's why they keep doing this rural, city, left, right, Democrat, Republican. And okay, so what we're seeing here is the far right taking this to an extreme, saying they're forcing us to be vegan and live in an apartment. When you're burned out, when you're flooded out, when your farm is destroyed, because man is using weather as a weapon, creating the floods that are destroying farms, then what happens? You end up moving into a city. You're destroyed. You've lost everything. You have no income. Can you buy a house in the suburb? No. You're forced to buy to rent an apartment. And when you see how many the amount of animals that have died because of the flooding and the fires, when they continually talk about how cows fart and cause climate change and the push on climate change, that's exactly where we're headed. When you see mainstream media coming out with articles that we will be eating insects, oh, well, okay. You got to keep all of that, kind of in the back of your mind. And when you read these kinds of things, all of it is connected. So theories around exploding smart meters and 5G being used for nefarious purposes play into legitimate concerns around big corporations and the data they have on us. But they stop there. Everything else that we're concerned about is a conspiracy theory. We should be careful because this is ripe ground for a conspiracy theorist. Oh my God, you're mainstream, and we need to be careful because those crazy conspiracy theorists, they might look into things a little bit too deeply. They might use their critical thinking skills. What they are doing is taking a legitimate truth and playing it up, adding paranoia, and making it into something else. No, actually, we're not. Another concern, foreign governments spreading these conspiracy theories in the West. Yes, we've seen this with the Russian troll army in the U.S. You know, when you just make everything a friggin' mess, people just throw up their arms and just say, to hell with it. I can't. There's nothing. Everything is just a friggin' lie. So, the liars, they have just an abundance of things that they can just draw from, other lies, and just keep it going and going and going. The Russian troll army in the U.S. There's a huge crack in Australian society about climate change. It could be exploited as another crack in the ability of Western countries to have democracy. So I wouldn't be surprised if a state actor was interested in this. Maybe that's why someone posted videos on my being a Russian agent. Oh, yeah. Okay. State actors driving all of us to post this information so that we get people to be climate change deniers. So, Agenda 21, another conspiracy theory. Tens of thousands of Aussies lapping up a ridiculous conspiracy theory that climate change is a United Nations-led hoax to aggressively depopulate the world. And I will link below. You can read this. Oh, yeah. But I just want to get to... Yeah, they're linking the fires to Agenda 21, 2030. The destruction of homes due attacks, directed energy attacks. Doesn't seem like they're very happy that there's a lot of engagement on social media now with all of this. And here, highlighting the recent out-of-season snow and telling green politicians to stop with the bullshit. There is no climate emergency. Stop pushing Agenda 21. It's on Facebook, a conspiracy theory. It's gained more traction. Then this article cites Natural News. But what it all comes down to is that climate change thing. So here, though, which is an important point to highlight, it's not just anonymous trolls spreading the message. Mainstream voices, notably representatives of Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party, recently posted about Agenda 21. I don't know One Nation Party, but I'm sure you guys in Australia do. 3 top Agenda 21 tweets by engagement all came from Queensland Senator Malcolm Roberts. Are these just crazy nut jobs? There's an awful lot of mainstream scientists, journalists, some politicians, teachers, educators, professors, and in the climate change business, physicists, climatologists, meteorologists, whole lot that know the truth because they've done the research. So, another one, Sharon Bell, One Nation candidate. Dr. William Grant, here he is. Okay. And boy, he's the expert, right? He's looked at the interaction of science and politics and technology many, many years. He's an expert. So people go with the expert, not checking out the expert, but we're all experts. When you do the research, you become an expert. He said, the Agenda 21 conspiracy is nothing new. It's making a comeback as climate change denialists attempted to discredit science. Agenda 21 misunderstands the nature of science, and it's a ridiculous theory. That's being implemented. It's fodder for far-right thinking, or thinkers, because it gives them a narrative in their mind when they spend years trying to find a way to discredit something that's based on overwhelming evidence. Theories like this spreading on social media was one of the greatest challenges facing the world right now, given the enormity of what was at stake with climate change. Okay. 9 years of doing this, I'm really very tired of doing it. But when you have mainstream media, when you have the experts saying that we're not about science, there's a consensus, all scientists agree, they're lying to you. They're not about science. They're about an agenda. An agenda that doesn't have anything to do with climate change. Look into Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. 31,487 American scientists have signed this petition, including 9,029 PhDs. This was years ago. The number increased. I think the last tally was that I can remember, an additional like 3,500. There is no convincing scientific evidence that human release of carbon dioxide, methane, or other greenhouse gases is causing or will, in the foreseeable future, cause catastrophic heating of the Earth's atmosphere and disruption of the Earth's climate. Moreover, there is substantial scientific evidence that increases in atmospheric carbon dioxide produce many beneficial effects upon the natural, plant, and animal environments of the Earth. Who started this petition? The former president, well, he's now gone, but the former president of the National Academy of Sciences. Do you think he's a nut job? We urge the United States government to reject the global warming agreement that was written in Kyoto. This was back in 1997. This has been going on ever since the creation of the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change. That's your consensus. Now, on that panel of scientists, that's the consensus. And I think on that panel, the biggest number was 109 scientists. And 31,000. Well, approximately 35,000 scientists, American. There's about 1,000 international scientists. That was an article that I read years ago disputing this global warming theory. A letter signed by 500 scientists relies on inaccurate claims about climate change or climate science. That just recently came out. 500 scientists are saying that if we don't do something, we're all going to die. Well, 6 scientists analyzed the letter and estimate its overall scientific credibility to be very low. And that's the nicest discrediting of those scientists about, yes, we've got to do something. Climate change is real. The IPCC is still wrong on climate change. Scientists prove it. Every year, or however those assessments coming out of the IPCC, every assessment, I think we're up to number 6, every assessment has been analyzed by real scientists who have said, this report, this assessment coming out of the IPCC is worthy of the nearest trash can. 90 Italian scientists have come out and stated the IPCC, using its climate models, well, just like a whole lot of other scientists that will never get a voice on mainstream media, well, it's crap. Crap. Fraudulent. So these Italian scientists invite policymakers to adopt environmental protection policies consistent with scientific knowledge. So those who claim that, like the Gretas of this world, that you're disputing science, that you're not, no, it's them, not us. And carbon dioxide itself is not a polluting agent. On the contrary, it is indispensable for life on the planet. Okay, anthropogenic origin of global warming is unproven conjecture, deduced only from some climatic models. These scientists, 90 of them, say scientific literature has increasingly highlighted the existence of a natural climatic variability that models are not able to reproduce. The anthropogenic responsibility of climate change observed in the last century is therefore unjustifiably exaggerated and the catastrophic predictions unrealistic. And you can read the article, 90 Scientists. Global warming is a total hoax. Climate alarmist, temperature data erroneous and incomplete. And this is from a climate data researcher, John McLean, who's highly respected. Oh, but he's not one of mainstream media's experts. So he's discredited. Right? That's how we're going to do life. Michael Mann is in Australia now, claiming that, well, Australia might get too dry and hot for human habitation. Read this article. The liar, the cheat, the falsifier, the fraud. Michael Mann. And climate scientists write to you, and there is no climate emergency. Just because a scientist is not getting a voice on mainstream media doesn't mean that that scientist is a crackpot. It means that there's an agenda, and it's called 2030. And it's already being implemented. So these scientists, there is no consensus of scientists that believe that man is causing climate change. No consensus. The powers that be have the money and have the power to use mainstream media as a propaganda outfit, and that's all we get is propaganda. You don't get the truth. But it's really unfortunate that now, when people go to a certain channel on YouTube, they're going to see something that, well, they may make a lot of judgment about the person they see, and then they make the judgment about those other conspiracy theorists. And that pisses me off.